I don't even know how to begin to talk about this episode. Recency bias, perhaps, but I do think now this is the best episode of season two of Vinland Saga. Prior, it was the episode where Thorfinn falls into Valhalla, which is the real world, and has the vision of his desire to continue to live, to rise above it, to climb the mountains, to face his true battle, to rise above the world in which he is basked in, right? He finds that determination and willpower to live, that indomitable will of the human spirit, right? Which is something that Gardner has also had during this entire event, at least that will to live. But this episode, my cat just showed up in the background. He's staring at the wall. I don't know what he's staring at. What was I saying? This episode is not about the will to live. This episode is purely about death. It is about a man's final moments, and what does a man think about in those final moments? What does he desire? What does he reflect on? And what are the things that he wish he had done? Wish he had done differently? Wish he had seen from a different perspective? Wish he had been able to experience? And whether or not it's by his own choice or by the world, subjecting him to this darkness that he fell into, torn away from the things that matter to him most. Gardner is a character that I've always really, really enjoyed. I enjoyed the concept of him, the idea of this renegade escaped slave, this man that made one bad decision, which in the moment was justifiable on both ends. It's not black and white. It was like he weighed the pros and cons, and he wanted to find the most wealth and resources for his family, for them to have the best life possible, especially after his child was born. The man truly was a family man. He was a father figure. He wanted to not only provide for his family in the best way possible, but he wanted to be looked at by Arnid in a way that she would look up to him and love him and set an example for his child and being able to provide for his child too. And these are themes, of course, that I think everybody, eventually understands or falls into, whether you start having kids or you have the desire to have kids or you have the desire of legacy. This idea of legacy that I think people get, as they get older, but also was like super, super important, in the time frame that Vinland Saga takes place in. We always say, I'm Thorfinn, son of Thors. Like, it's very, very important, the lineage, and it's like your name matters, your name means something, and so you want to pass down the best life possible. And I think it's true for all parents that they want their kids to have a better life than they had. They want to be able to provide for them more than they had. They want to give them more resources than they had, more opportunity than they had, and to avoid the mistakes that they made. But this episode primarily focuses on the death of Gardar, and one thing that is extremely different in the anime as it is in the manga is in the manga, see, this episode really only covers about one chapter of the manga, and most of the episodes cover 2 or 2.5 or somewhere around there. Or cover 2 and even manage to add some more things in. So this only covers one chapter because it adds a lot of additional sequences of Gardar and his visions of what he's seeing upon his death, and that journey that he's taking on the wagon and seeing sort of the sky and seeing all of the images of slavery behind him, seeing his past, seeing reflections of his past, being with his child, changing his diapers, seeing him for the first time, and that sort of what I really love is the symbolism of when he has blood on his hands and he sees, his child's face and he touches it and some of the blood rubs off. I think I talked about this in one of the trailers. They showed this sequence, but it really is sort of that parallel of the innocence and purity, of the child, and then the darkness and cruelty of the world. And at some point they're going to meet, and seeing just like a baby's face, with like a little bit of blood on it from a battle kind of symbolizes that in a way. It's like this inevitable darkness that is going to befall every single human being eventually, probably, in this world. So all of these new sequences are anime only, and they are directed fantastically, and they definitely pull on the heartstrings. Now, when I first read this chapter in the manga, I was very, very emotional about it. I really kind of attached to Gardar and Arnid's story, this story of two lovers that were ripped apart. Their child is lost. She is the number one slave underneath Kettle. She's pregnant with his child. Gardar just wants to escape, to find her again, to be a family again. And it's never going to happen. So you just feel that inevitable pain that, like, there's no way they can do this. There's no way they can even get out of this, right? All this chaos kind of ensues on the farm. while this is happening. And of course, the episode begins with Thorfinn versus Snake, which is a super badass moment, both in the manga and in the anime. I think the direction of this whole episode was fantastic, but the fight scene itself, I really, really enjoyed because of two reasons. One is just the choreography itself. It looked fantastic. It was very smooth. It was easy to follow. We got Thorfinn's kind of classic acrobatic type style that he uses. Not to mention Snake, being very quick with his sword, kind of very referential to his name, just a snake, just very quick strikes. He was doing a lot of thrusting motions, pause, and it looked fantastic. And, and I love how we place both of these characters in an understandable position, because Thorfinn has tried to vow to not fall into violence again, but he's in this situation where he's trying to save Gardner and Arnid and allow them to escape. He's face to face with Snake, which is not a person he can talk down. So he's trying to end the fight as quickly as possible. He's trying to just knock him out. And then as the fight consists, they both realize this person's really strong. So Thorfinn's thinking, all right, I gotta wear him down. And Snake is seeing Thorfinn's skill on the other side, and he's just wondering, who the hell was he hanging around before he became a slave? And it's just interesting to see how both of them have this kind of warrior background and ended up in the place that they did. Now, they do mention in this episode where Snake was from, which I don't believe they mention in the manga. I don't know if that's going to play more of a part in the anime or not, but, he wound up being a bodyguard basically on this farm where Thorfinn ended up being a slave. So they both came from this glorious, noble, honorable thing within the culture of being a warrior, but they both kind of ended up in this situation. And Snake has every right to be as pissed off as he is. He lost a bunch of men that were close to him. He's just trying to do his job. So there's so many different conflicting events that are happening here, which is what makes Vinland Saga so great, because it's not black and white, and everybody has a justifiable reason from their own perspective to do what they're doing. Snake does manage to move the fight in a way where Thorfinn would have to dodge out of his way that would get him closer to the wagon, which is his ultimate goal. Snake isn't so much worrying about, killing Thorfinn or defeating Thorfinn. He's trying to get to Gardar, in which he does. And he stabs him, and you think that that's the end, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, like that's, Arnid's there begging him not to, and it's super tragic. But then fucking Gardar, just nothing but this insurmountable will to survive and just pure adrenaline just leading him on to like come out of the wagon and choke Snake out. Just nothing stopping this man. Thorfinn can't pull him off him. He is going on like pure survival instincts. He's on the end of his life. His adrenaline is probably through the roof. Insane moment of just pure, honest desperation. Like, I'm going to fucking kill you and get out of here. But then Arnid is there to sort of calm him down and comfort him and kind of be that comfort that Gardar wants. He wants to be able to be with her again. He wants to be able to be a family. And so when she's talking to him about their son, which Gardar still doesn't know, and that's another like super tragic thing about this episode, is that he still doesn't really know what's going on with a lot of this stuff. And they manage to grab the wagon, which they're not going to escape. There's no possible way. Gardar is dying. Like there's only so much plot armor a character can have in a series like this. Like, he has been stabbed and beaten and broken, and he's bleeding out, and there's no conceivable way that he would possibly survive. It is going on, like I said, pure adrenaline alone at this point. And these are his final moments. And so I think that the other characters recognize that. Arnid recognizes that. She knows that they're not actually going to be able to escape, but she's going to spend Gardar's final moments with him, and the manga takes us out on the wagon ride and kind of has Gardar do the same dialogue that he does in this episode, where he wonders how old his child is now. He hasn't seen him in a long time. He wonders if he's as mischievous as he was when he was a kid, and that his kid was probably going to want to be a warrior, and that he's going to talk him out of it, and he's going to tell him not to because of the darkness that can bring to. But where this episode differs is the kind of visualization that Gardar goes through in his final moments. Now, I don't believe that the anime took it upon themselves to show us, the afterlife or anything like that. I don't take it to mean everybody can interpret it a different way, which is one of the great things about art. It's like how we watch it, and we come to it with our perspective, with our worldview. Everybody that watches something or reads something, interprets it their own way and kind of gives them their own meaning from it. And that's an important thing about art. To me personally, I don't think that we're seeing Gardner in heaven or something like that, or in the afterlife. I think that we're seeing the things that are most important to him and the things that he's envisioning upon his death, where there's all this kind of violence and chaos that has happened within recent times, and we're seeing the regrets of this man. We're seeing him sitting there, seeing himself choose to go off into that battle that he would go in and eventually become a slave, and him saying no, like, please don't go, kind of very Interstellar, behind the bookcase, and you're just like, don't do it, don't, kind of that kind of moment. And then we're also seeing his valuable moments where he's imagining when Halti was born. He's imagining, when he was changing his diaper. He was imagining him walking over to his mom, and I could just imagine, like, I'm not a father, but I'd like to be someday. And I just imagine, him looking outside the house and just seeing the kid, walk over to his mom while she's outside, and it's just like, what a beautiful moment that would be. Like, you're seeing, like, your family, and you feel that radiance of love and that idea of legacy, like I said, passing down to the next generation, and all the hope of what this child could be, what could they possibly grow up to become. Hopefully I steer them in the right direction, and all of that was taken away, and he never got to, and he never will. And so I think that that's why in that scene where it's showing Halti being the appropriate age that he would be, around 6-7 years old, and Gardner kind of coming back to his village and seeing him there, I think that that's what he imagined. Like, when he wants to be able to come back to the village and his family be there for him, And when he talks to Arnid, she tells him that that's around the age he would be. I think that that's why he envisions Halti as that age. I think he just sees him there, kind of this imaginary perfect scenario of, I've come back and my kid's there and he's waiting for me, and I can go up and I can hug him and he's right there, as he dies, kind of like comforted on Arnid's lap. And it's just like, and that's it for him as a person. And that is his legacy. His legacy is, he left. He never saw his child after the age of 1. He became a slave. He was estranged from his wife. His wife got taken by another slave owner, became impregnated by him. He, was abused for years, finally escaped, found his wife, had to kill a shit ton of people to try to escape, and he didn't get to. And that's the tragedy of Gardner. And when you see that this man did every single thing that he could possibly do to make this happen, he killed people he didn't want to kill. He traveled distances by being injured and malnourished and beaten. He ripped a man's throat out with his teeth. He hid underneath a bed. Well, he was kind of unconscious, but like, he couldn't make any noise. He did all of this shit just to try to find his wife again and escape with her, with this minuscule 1% chance hope that maybe he could be a family again with them. And the man never fucking gets to. And not only that, is they don't even get off the farm. The chapter ends, the episode ends, it pulls back. You see Snake's men surrounding Arnid. Like, she's fucked. Thorfinn and Einar are fucked. And in the end, because of slavery, because of war, because of the themes that Vinland Saga talks about, nothing here mattered. So this is going to lead us into, like I said, if you're following along in the manga, this goes to the end of book 6, and the farm/slave arc, whatever you want to call it, goes up until basically the end of book 7. So we're entering into the final third of the arc, and we know we have a lot of pieces on the board. We know a lot of shit is going to go down. In the brief preview for the next episode, you see Kettle return to the farm, and we'll take it from there next week. Anyways, guys, let me know what you thought about this episode. How did it make you feel? Did it pull on the heartstrings? How do you feel about Gardner and our need? What did you think of the fight between Thorfinn and Snake? What do you think is going to happen with Snake now, Thorfinn and Einar as well? And what do you see for the anime onlys? What do you see moving forward next week? So let me know all that down below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Please give the video a thumbs up and a comment if you enjoyed it, because it will help it in the algorithm. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time.